Dalam merancang dan bertindak juga memerlukan dasar yang jelas, bukan sesuka hati sahaja. Dasar kita di negara ini ialah MIB. Maka semua rancangan dan tindakan itu mestilah berlandaskan MIB. Sifat-sifat masyarakat yang baik ialah seperti jujur, sabar, amanah dan baik hati. Kita memerlukan perpaduan dan keharmonian. Kerana daripada keduanya, itulah akan lahir keamanan dan kestabilan. Keamanan dan kestabilan pula amat penting untuk pembangunan, sehingga tanpa keduanya itu, pembangunan tidak mungkin dilaksanakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. I'm Azrul Bakar and welcome to News at 10, the top stories tonight. The government provides office space for sports bodies, the appointment of local and foreign coaches, incentive schemes and other measures to facilitate them. The Ministry of Health takes the multi-sectoral approach, especially in combating the epidemic of non-communicable diseases. By command of His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan Al Bolkiah Muizzuddin Wad Daulah Ibn Almarhum Sultan Haji Omar Ali Saifuddin Sa'dul Khairuddin, Sultan Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam, the Prime Minister's office hereby announces that His Majesty the Sultan Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam has consented to the transfer and appointment of several senior officers as follows. Yang Mulia Awang Haji Nazmi bin Haji Muhammad, Permanent Secretary, Management and International, Ministry of Finance, has been transferred to the Prime Minister's office as Permanent Secretary, Corporate Affairs and Public Administration at the Prime Minister's office. Yang Mulia Dayang Nurliah binti Kulab, Accountant General at the Treasury Department, Ministry of Finance, has been appointed as Permanent Secretary, Performance, Ministry of Finance. Yang Mulia Dr. Dayang Haja Faizah binti Haji Ahmad Arifin, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Economic and Finance at the Prime Minister's office, has been transferred to the Ministry of Finance as Deputy Permanent Secretary, Performance and Compliance, Ministry of Finance. Yang Mulia Pengiran Haja Siti Nirmala binti Pengiran Muhammad, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Performance and Compliance, Ministry of Finance, has been transferred to the Prime Minister's office as Deputy Permanent Secretary, Economic and Finance at the Prime Minister's office. And Yang Mulia Awang Abdul Walid bin Haji Batasan, Senior Administrative Officer at Corporate Affairs and Public Administration, Prime Minister's office, has been appointed as Deputy Permanent Secretary, Corporate Affairs and Public Administration at the Prime Minister's office. The date of transfers and appointments at the said offices is effective from Wednesday, the 22nd of Rajab 1438, corresponding to the 19th of April 2017. Throughout 2016, Brunei Darussalam participated actively in foreign sports that involved major participations of national athletes, winning 9 gold medals, 13 silver and 14 bronze. The latest accomplishment was the 2 gold medals from the 6th International Pars Wushu Cup in the Islamic Republic of Iran. The country's sports achievements were highlighted by Yang Berhormat Pehin Datuk Laila Raja, Retired Major General Datuk Pertukas Sri Haji Awang Halbi bin Haji Muhammad Yusof, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, in a speech during a meeting with National Sports Associations this morning. Yang Berhormat Pihin said the government views the voluntary growth of sports bodies is to implement their own programs and activities. In this regard, there are 3 prerequisites for the sports bodies to achieve objectives outlined by the National Sports Policy. First, the sports body's sustainability, their professional management, and the ability to increase followers of fans, enthusiasts, and sporting elites from among the masses. The minister added, translated into the sports pyramid philosophy, the number of sports developers on top of the pyramid are few, but the number of people to be transformed into fans, enthusiasts, and sporting elites is a big challenge to sports bodies or associations.
Pertama, memperkasakan budaya penglibatan sukan dalam kalangan masyarakat melalui program outreach pada badan sukan terhadap pelajar sekolah dan penuntut institusi pengajian tinggi untuk memupuk dan melibatkan diri dalam aktiviti sukan.
Yang Berhormat Pihin said facing the massive challenge requires planning, leadership, organizing and controlling the path or journey of each sport that have to be led by the associations who have no choice but to take measures towards empowering the culture of sports involvement in the community. The measures include outreach programs to school students and others from institutions of higher learning in order to nurture them and get them involved in sports activities. The government, through the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, has provided office space for sports bodies, the appointment of local and foreign coaches, incentive schemes and other measures to facilitate them.
Dan kelima, mencapai kecemerlangan peringkat kebangsaan dan antarabangsa dengan semangat kesukanan yang tulen. Selari dengan itu, kerajaan melalui Kementerian Kebudayaan Belia dan Sukan telah menyediakan ruang-ruang pejabat untuk badan-badan sukan, perlantikan juru-juru latih sukan sama ada dalam dan luar negara, mengadakan bahagian khusus sukan di Jabatan Belia dan Sukan, skim penggalak kecemerlangan sukan, pengiktirafan kepada ahli-ahli sukan, galeri sukan, Sport Medicine Research Center, dan lain-lain instrumen untuk memudahkan badan-badan sukan.
ASEAN countries need to continue to cooperate in addressing the common health challenges in the region. ASEAN countries must also make sure that the outcomes of the senior officials meeting on health and development meeting is in line with the ASEAN post-2015 health development agenda and the sustainable development goals. According to the Deputy Permanent Secretary Professional at the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Health sees the multi-sectoral approach. It's especially vital in their efforts to combat the epidemic of non-communicable diseases that are causing death and disease to many in the region. Dr. Haji Maslina binti Haji Mohsen highlighted the matter while chairing the 12 senior officials meeting on health development, SOMHD, and other related meetings this morning.
On the other hand, we are also challenged with emerging diseases, globalization of trade, travel and trade, increasing drug resistance, and the potential of release of hazardous materials. They all have now topped the global health security agenda, and many countries in this region have first-hand experience of these threats. The international health regulations has highlighted the need for strengthening capacities at the local as well as regional levels. For without this, early detection and rapid response to outbreaks may be compromised or even missed or delayed.
The 3-day meeting is attended by more than 100 senior health officials in the Ministry of Health from ASEAN countries, as well as China, Japan and the Republic of Korea. The annual SOMHD meeting aims to assess the implementation of the mission outlines in the previous meeting. This year's meeting discusses 4 main agendas, namely promoting health lifestyle, responding to all hazards and emerging threats, strengthening health systems and access to care, and ensuring food safety.
Financing of health systems to ensure that as a region, our people continue to receive access to high quality, effective, equitable and sustainable healthcare. In response,
so mesyuarat ini adalah mesyuarat Senior Officials Meeting on Health Development, mesyuarat ASEAN. 10 ASEAN Member States sebagai kumpulan berbincang mengenai isu-isu kesihatan yang terkawal kepada rantau ini. Tujuan mesyuarat ini adalah untuk berbincangkan dan merealisasikan plan tindakan dan strategik utama untuk mengenai isu kesihatan sebagai isu non-communicable disease, keselamatan kesihatan awam, mengenai isu seperti universal health coverage and health systems, dan isu seperti isu makanan.
Entrepreneurs should change their mindset from traditional to digital business before running a business based on a digital model. Details next. First is excerpt of His Majesty's Tidak. Good aquaculture practice is among the methods used by local cage fish business in increasing its production and species of quality of fish. This is to enable the products of the ODE Aquaculture and Agriculture Company to penetrate the export market. The initiative is also in line with the government's efforts towards production growth of the fisheries industry, while simultaneously achieving the aquaculture industry's targeted contribution of more than $400 million by the year 2020. The ODE Aquaculture and Agriculture Company's cage fish farm, owned by Awang Haji Azhari bin Haji Cucu, is located in the cage fish breeding industry site in Tanjung Pelumpong. It began operations in 2014. It has more than 200 fish cages in a 1-hectare site, breeding a variety of fish species, including grouper and red snapper. The idea to open a fish farm at the Tanjung Pelumpong site followed the company's success with its other fish breeding farm in Buang Tawat. ODE Aquaculture and Agriculture plans to increase the number of cages to 266. Last year, the company achieved a significant increase in revenue compared to the 2 previous years, which were 14.5 metric tons in 2014 and 16 metric tons in 2015.
Pada tahun 2016 dengan mengoperasikan sebanyak 224 pitak sangkar di tapak industri pemeliharaan ikan dalam sangkar di Buang Tawar dengan keluasan 0.2 hektar. Syarikat ini berupaya menghasilkan sebanyak 24 metrik tan ikan laut dan alhamdulillah mampu menjana sebanyak 42% pengeluaran dari sasaran berjumlah 58.3 metrik tan.
A large part of the company's harvest is marketed locally, befitting its vision to increase the production of the existing farms. The company will continue to add varieties of fish species and practice the best aquaculture practices towards producing export quality fish.
Syarikat ini sangatlah mengeluarkan apa jua bentuk saranan pihak kerajaan dalam meningkatkan penghasilan dan produktiviti ladang teranakan secara berterusan dengan memperkenalkan teknologi penghasilan ikan terkini daripada negara-negara yang berjaya bagi dapat menyesuaikan dengan keadaan di negara ini dan mengamalkan penggunaan masara alam dan tidak memerlukan perbelanjaan yang tinggi itu.
The company's success in producing 24 tons from its cage fish breeding farm, or almost 11% of last year's overall sea fish breeding harvest, proves the ability of local entrepreneurs to answer the call of the Ministry of Primary Resources and Tourism towards the targeted growth of aquaculture industry production. The effort also assists in achieving the country's intention to reduce dependence on the oil and gas sector. Entrepreneurs should change their mindset from traditional to digital business before involving decision makers and employees to acquire the skills and knowledge on how to run a business based on a digital model. This was among the objectives emphasized in the cross-border e-commerce training CBET bootcamp organized by Darussalam Enterprise DARE with the cooperation of dhgate.com and University Brunei Darussalam UPD. The training also stressed the need for workers to be equipped with skills and that entrepreneurs should know how to conduct a digital model-based business. Another vital step is integration and a shift in the company's business model through the fusion of online and traditional businesses using the digital platform. The event was attended by Yang Berhormat Dayang Nik Hafimi binti Abdul Hadi dan Yang Berhormat Dayang Siti Rozai Mirianti binti Datuk Sri Laila Jasa Wang Haji Abdul Rahman, members of the Legislative Council. The two are also Darussalam Enterprises board members. The two-day bootcamp is conducted by dhgate.com, the first business-to-do-business e-commerce platform in China.
As well as the Chicago Tribune, which is one of the leading media companies in the USA, invested in that company, and we just could not believe it.
Stay tuned for more news after this break.
Wow! 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 Welcome to Pizza Hut. Your this, Dapatkan wow deals dari Pizza Hut. Dapatkan pan pizza serendah RM5 hanya untuk bawa balik dan makan di restoran sahaja. Masa adalah terhad.
Peratus dibuat dari daun teh asli, bukan dari ekstrak seperti yang lain. Rasakan perbezaan teh hijau yang sebenar. Beralih ke Pouka, jenama nombor 1 di Singapura.
Wow! 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 Welcome to Pizza Hut. Your this, Dapatkan wow deals dari Pizza Hut. Dapatkan pan pizza serendah RM5 hanya untuk bawa balik dan makan di restoran sahaja. Masa adalah terhad.
Various interactive activities on financial management were included in the roadshow in conjunction with the National Savings Day. The roadshow targeted students from the Sultan Hassan Secondary School in Bangar and the Temburong Arabic Preparatory School. It was organized by Authority Monetary Brunei Darussalam AMBD in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs, Radio Television Brunei and the Employees Trust Fund TAP. Theme Financially Literate Generation, the roadshow aimed to increase awareness on the importance of saving, being independent, as well as addressing financial issues in an effective manner. It also provided the students with an opportunity to improve their knowledge on effective financial management. Among those present was Yang Berhormat Wang Haji Imran bin Haji Sabtu, a member of the Legislative Council. Students also had the opportunity to participate in a number of interactive games on financial and currency management.
Kami dalam mengadakan Jerayawara ini dan juga Financial Fun Fair ialah agar orang ramai khususnya generasi muda akan dapat mengambil serba sedikit pengajaran lah daripada aktiviti-aktiviti yang diadakan yang more interaktif. Rather than just macam kira membaca atau melihat sajalah. So from this roadshows, we hope they'll be able to pick up this financial skills mungkin and cara-cara untuk mengurus kewangan dan juga mengenali skim cepat kaya dan juga mengenali mata wang negara Brunei Darussalam lah selain daripada pengurusan kewangan itu.
Pendapat saya sebagai seorang guru, saya sangat menyokong majlis seperti ini atau jerayawara seperti ini. Sebab mengapa? Pada saat ini kita lihat budaya menabung itu sudah kurang dilaksanakan oleh generasi muda. Sebagai pribadi saya sendiri, saya sangat suka menyokong adanya jerayawara seperti ini untuk memberi kesadaran kepada penuntut betapa pentingnya menabung untuk masa hadapan. Sedikit-sedikit lama-lama menjadi bukit.
Yang dapat belajar cara-cara bank berurus, dapat tahu pasal menabung, dapat faedah menabung.
A number of goods on the market have undergone price amendments under the new customs import tax and excise duties, which has been in force since the 1st of April 2017. The amendments aim to alleviate the cost of living for specific groups and control the use of certain goods. It also aims to reduce business costs in an effort to encourage active engagement of local industries in enhancing productivity and competitiveness.
Kalau barang turun bagus tu untuk rakyat lah.
Alhamdulillah, bagus je lah langkah kerajaan negara Brunei Darussalam ini menurunkan cukai beberapa barangan yang ada di negara Brunei Darussalam ini. Senang je untuk kami lah.
Baguslah bagi kami.
Under the new customs duty, several goods have undergone tax reduction. This includes industrial machinery such as steam turbines, bread-making machines, as well as spare parts for cars and heavy vehicles. The tax reduction aims to ease the financial burden and enhance the safety of consumers in the country. Tax rates for certain products such as mobile phones, leather and fur-skin products, video games and other items have been increased. This measure is taken to balance reduction in revenue for certain goods. Taxes for several products that are harmful to health, such as food and drink that have high sugar content, have also been raised to control consumer demand. This is in line with the Ministry of Health's effort to realize the objective of towards a healthy society. Members of the public, when interviewed, described the tax amendments as a wise move by the government to improve the well-being of citizens and residents in the country.
Alhamdulillah, tindakan kerajaan untuk menurunkan cukai bagi barang keselamatan seperti kenderaan kereta macam tayar dan spare part kereta, artinya kemudahan itu akan menjadi kemurahan harga dan orang ramai pun orang tadi berharap barang itu dapat diganti walaupun dilepas daripada ia punya keselamatan.
Secara indah langsung, it will also give positive environment, incremental dalam kami punya production itulah, because of having our industrial equipment being reduced dalam dorang punya cost apa tu, can eventually contribute to the SME like any other people atau to do better in their business and to promote more local product.
Business owners also voiced their support for the initiative.
Some tire, Europe and Korea tire is going down. It's good. And then because this tire is going down, everybody is buy tire in Brunei. Actually, tire and some other thing, Brunei is cheapest.
The move to introduce the tax rate amendments was taken to protect the interests and well-being of citizens and residents in the country, especially in aspects of health and environment. It not only aims to alleviate the cost of living and control the use of certain goods, but is also expected to increase the productivity and competitiveness of local products. The country's taxi system offers services not only to overseas tourists and visitors, but also to passengers at all levels. The service connects all strategic locations and destinations in the country, and taxi drivers can be called to pick up passengers at any point. Friendly and trustworthy, the taxi service is ready to serve you. The Language and Literature Bureau continues to plan strategies in promoting reading culture, specifically among young children, including storytelling competitions. As part of the effort, the Language and Literature Bureau, through the Library section, has organized a storytelling competition at the Tutong district level. The winner of the competition will represent the district at the state level.
Saja genap 7 tahun. Dalam usia semuda itu, dia telah menghadapi jenang amat pedih.
The ability of Nur Shahzana Nadira binti Sahari from the Tutong Camp Primary School presenting a story made her to champion the competition. Such competitions enable pupils to tell their stories with confidence in public in their own style. Prizes were handed over by Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Wata bin Abdullah Awad, the commanding officer of the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Brunei Armed Forces. A look at the Nisab Zakat or tithe rates for cash and property. Moving on to the foreign exchange rates between the Brunei dollar and some international and regional currencies. Moving on to international news and the top stories tonight. Turkey extends for a further 3 months a state of emergency declared in the wake of a failed July 2016 coup. And Australia urges China to do more to de-escalate the threat from North Korea. Turkey's Council of Ministers has decided to extend for a further 3 months a state of emergency declared in the wake of a failed July 2016 coup. Turkish Deputy Prime Minister Numan Kurtulmuş made the announcement saying the extension would come into effect from 19 April, when the previous state of emergency was expired. The decision will now go to Parliament for approval. The state of emergency includes the granting of greater powers to security forces in detentions and arrests. Australia's Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull urged China to do more to de-escalate the threat from North Korea. Mr. Turnbull told reporters in Canberra that China has the greatest obligation and responsibility to do so because of its leverage over North Korea. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made a new appeal for calm on the Korean Peninsula on Tuesday and said he believes the United States would prefer a diplomatic resolution to the standoff. The recent surge in tensions on the Korean Peninsula finds Beijing in dispute with both North and South Korea, while many critics have yet to be convinced by its insistence that its influence with Pyongyang has been exaggerated.
It's dangerous and reckless conduct. But the real obligation, the heaviest obligation, is on China.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe welcomed the Trump administration's approach toward North Korea as he met U.S. Vice President Mike Pence at his official residence in Tokyo. Mr. Pence reassured Mr. Shinzo Abe that the U.S. considers its alliance with Japan to be a cornerstone of security in the region. Mr. Pence said that the United States appreciate the challenging times in which the people of Japan live, with increasing provocations from across the Sea of Japan. He also said that the United States is with Japan 100%, adding that the U.S. always seeks peace. Mr. Pence arrived in Japan earlier in the day for the second stop of a 10-day Asia tour. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made a new appeal calling for calm on the Korean peninsula. Mr. Wang told reporters that although U.S. officials have made clear that a military strike remains on the table, he believed that Washington would still prefer to de-escalate the threat through multi-sided talks. He made comments at a news conference to brief on the upcoming Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, BRF, and summit in Beijing. President Xi Jinping will attend the opening of the forum and host the summit meeting. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi also held a meeting with the Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh in Beijing. Mr. Wang said the two countries should keep close high-level contact in order to enhance bilateral relations, which he stated were improving. Mr. Pham Binh in China to attend a China-Vietnam committee meeting on cooperation in business and trade. Nepalese President Bidya Devi Bhandari received a ceremonial welcome in India, together with a high-level delegation of Nepalese ministers and senior officials. Devi Bhandari was greeted by her Indian counterpart Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Indian Presidential Palace in New Delhi. In brief remarks, she said she hoped the friendship between the neighboring countries would reach new heights. The Nepalese president is on a 5-day state visit that is expected to intensify bilateral engagement in trade, energy, and defense cooperation. Meanwhile, Canadian Defence Minister Harjit Singh Sajjan was greeted with a ceremonial reception in New Delhi. Harjit Sajjan, who is in India for a week-long visit, met with his Indian counterpart Arun Jaitley. He is also expected to meet with Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj and to discuss a wide range of bilateral issues to increase defence and security cooperation. Iran held parades, naval and air displays across the country to mark its annual Army Day. Trucks carrying missiles drove past the podium in Tehran, draped with images of President Hassan Rouhani, and soldiers saluted the president and military commanders as they marched past. Fighter jets and bombers took part in an air display. Iran has two armies, a regular one which operates as a national defense force and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that was created after the revolution to protect the Islamic Republic against both internal and external adversaries. The army has the biggest ground force in Iran, and the IRGC is in control of a growing arsenal of ballistic missiles. Stay with us for more international news after the short break. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is looking to expand the number of civilians involved in armed militias as tensions in the crisis-racked nation continue to rise. Mr. Maduro said that he hopes the number of militia members will reach 500,000 compared to 100,000 currently. He said each new member would be equipped with a gun. The Bolivarian militias were created by the late President Hugo Chavez with a goal of training 1 million civilians to assist the armed forces in the defense of his socialist revolution from external and domestic attacks.
Al ministro de la Defensa, general en jefe, a través de la Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana.
Australia's Prime Minister is saying the country will scrap a temporary visa for skilled foreign workers, arguing that Australians must be given priority for Australian jobs. The 457 visa allows foreigners to live and work in Australia for up to 4 years. Mr. Malcolm Turnbull said it will be replaced with a stricter scheme that requires a criminal background check and includes tougher English language requirements. The list of occupations that qualify for the new visa will be sharply reduced. The decision comes one day before US President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order that will make changes to a visa program that brings high-skilled workers to the US.
The existing 457 visa program is conducted for a period of 4 years, but essentially it's open-ended and it results in many cases in a migration out.
In other developments in Australia, US Marines have arrived in Australia's tropical north for a 6-month deployment during which they will conduct exercises with Australian and visiting Chinese forces. The 25-year annual deployment program, started by former US President Barack Obama in 2011, is part of the US pivot to Asia at a time of increased assertiveness by China. The strength of this year's deployment at 1,250 troops lags well behind the initial plan for the deployment to reach 2,500 Marines this year, but it will see the largest US aircraft contingent to Australia in peacetime history.
Between Australia and America, and we look forward to exercising and training and increasing and improving the interoperability between our forces and other forces.
At least 24 people have died after a passenger bus carrying about 45 people fell into a deep ravine in a northern mountain town in one of the deadliest vehicle accidents in the country in recent years. Disaster response officer Mark Raymond Cano tells the Associated Press that the brakes of the bus apparently failed as it negotiated a downhill road in the Weber Jika province's Karangan town. Cano says the rest of the passengers were retrieved by rescuers and taken to a hospital, mostly with serious injuries. At least 12 people suffered burns from a strong acid attack at a London nightclub as about 600 revelers were evacuated. Police officers said they believe a man threw acid at 2 men after a dispute between 2 groups inside the nightclub. A spokesperson of the London Fire Brigade said that a strong acidic unknown corrosive substance was thrown inside the venue, Mangalate, in Dalston. Police are still investigating the cause of the incident but ruled out the attack as gang-related. Video posted to a social media website showed flames and thick black smoke rising from a building and truck after a small plane crashed in Portugal. The plane came down near a supermarket in a residential area outside Lisbon, killing 5 people. The private plane crashed after taking off from the small Tires airport, which is located near the resort town of Cascais, about 20 kilometers west of Lisbon, and is used mainly by private aircraft. The plane was headed for Marseille in France. Everyone on board the plane, 3 French nationals and 1 Swiss, died. Another person on the ground also died when the plane crashed into a truck, setting off a fire. The cause of the accident was not yet known. A dense sandstorm enveloped the city of Yulin in northwest China's Shanxi province yesterday evening. The thick dust blanketed the city with high winds, causing trees to sway heavily at roadsides. The city's meteorological bureau issued a blue alert to warn of the gale-force winds with wind speeds reaching nearly 20 meters per second. Local residents have been reminded to stay indoors until conditions improved. A 17-year-old surfer was killed by a shark off Australia's south coast. Letitia Brewer was surfing with her father when she was attacked off Esperance in Western Australia state yesterday afternoon. She was taken in critical condition to Esperance Hospital, where she died. Police have not said what type of shark was responsible. Australia has averaged fewer than 2 deadly shark attacks per year in recent decades.
At a location just east of Esperance, and when she was attacked by a shark and tragically resulted in fatal injuries.
Moving on to sports news, Arsenal earns its first English Premier League win on the road in 3 months, 2-1 at Middlesbrough, to revive the London club's tough pursuit of a Champions League qualification. Meanwhile, Alaves defeated Villarreal 2-1 to snap a 3-game losing streak in the Spanish league. We bring you the weather forecast next. The general local weather condition for the next 24 hours is expected to be partly cloudy with thundery showers mostly at night. Tonight, the weather is expected to be thundery showers mostly over the interior but likely to spread seawards. An advisory has been issued for risk of flash flood and heavy downpour, especially low-lying and flood-prone areas. Sea state will be slight at 0.5 to 1 meter and wind is from northeast or southeast at 5 to 15 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow morning, the weather will be partly cloudy with a chance of early morning showers. Sea state will be similar as tonight, while wind will be from southwest at 5 to 10 kilometers per hour. And the afternoon will be mostly sunny. Sea state will remain slight, while wind will be from northwest at 10 to 25 kilometers per hour. Wallahu alam bisawab. A look at the forecast for Brunei Darussalam for the next 3 days and the weather for some of the main cities around the world. Finally, let's reflect on the tradition of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, narrated by Ibn Abi ad-Dunya. Verily, the act of forgiveness increases your dignity towards your fellow man. Therefore, forgive each other so that you'll be dignified by Allah. To end the bulletin, we leave you with a clip where thousands took part in Paris's Color Run, a race which sees participants pelted with colorful powder along the way. The event, billed as the most colorful 5-kilometer course in the world, took place with pumping music along the banks of the Seine before ending with a party by the Eiffel Tower. Organizers said 20,000 people participated in the event. The race was not timed, so participants were able to run or walk the course without any pressure. Jack from Scotland crossed the finish line first. That concludes News at 10 for this evening. Good night. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.